Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel, Inner Cosmetics. I am Elle Benet. Always a pleasure to be on this channel with you. How was your weekend? I have been practicing rolling and balancing my life by enjoying the talents of other people, getting out in nature, and what's always going to be top of my list is spirituality. But to have a balanced life, I'm practicing just being and partaking in a little bit of everything because that's where the fulfillment has been for me, not just focusing in one area. So I look forward to hearing how your weekend is, how it's going, and hopefully it's peaceful and you're allowing yourself to be untethered to this realm. Diving into the conversation, the Eye of Ra. As you can see by these notes, this is an exciting topic for me. Last week, after I was finishing up a meditation, I was sitting there and the words, I am the pupil, floated through. And when I heard I am the pupil, that stemmed some curiosity there. Like, well, what is the definition of a pupil? So in looking at pupil, yes, it's a person that's under the charge of an instructor. But the pupil is also the black opening in the middle of the eye, and it gets bigger, it gets smaller depending on the light that goes through. I said, okay, interesting. And after that, I heard the Eye of Ra. So now I'm really like, okay, I as a pupil, the Eye of Ra, let me explore that. Because I never actually delved into understanding or hearing the stories behind the Eye of Ra. So in reading, and here's where we're going to get more into the correlation between what I found from the Eye of Ra and references within the Bible. So the Eye of Ra in particular is the right side, is the right eye. It is associated with being the sun, the solar eye. And what was also interesting, it serves as the feminine counterpart. Now, how does this connect with the Bible? References to the Bible that I hear of Jesus, the Son of God. And whenever I hear Son of God, it's always S-U-N to me, Son. And there's a lot of references there to being the right side. So we want to take two separate excerpts from the Bible. After making purification for sins, he sat down at the right hand of the Majesty on high. And again in Colossians 3:1, therefore, since you have been raised with Christ, strive for the things above, where Christ is seated at the right hand of God. So a lot of these references to the right side is to me symbolic of strength, authority, power, being on that right side. And I thought that was interesting that, again, Ra had that same significance on the right side. So initially, I thought prior that the Eye of Ra was only pertaining to the pineal gland that's inside the head. If you look that up, some might consider it or call it, I should say, the third eye. It has all of the elements that these two eyes have. There's a third eye as well, that's the pineal gland. But now, when I heard that I am the pupil, it provoked the thought, well, if the pineal gland is an eye inside of my head, what makes me think that the whole of me, all of my body, isn't an eye as well, a pupil? And I said, well, that would feel sense, which is why we even reference ourselves as I, as a singular I, because normally we're always dissecting ourselves, my arm, my leg, my stomach, but you don't break yourself down when you're referencing yourself in conversation. You just wrap it all up and say I, and this provoked another thought, because it's just going down this rabbit hole that this one thought led to, which is so beautiful. In Matthew, it says, the light of the body is the eye. Therefore, if thine eye be single, thy whole body shall be full of light. Now, why did this change the entirety of what this message meant to me? Well, because before, it was my understanding that the eye of Ra was only referring to the pineal gland inside. And I always had this focus, which everything has its purpose. Everything does. And when reading this now, that second reference of I, and I'll read it again after this explanation, the second reference of I would be capital I, because you're bringing God, Christ, yourself into that singular I, not dispersed or spread apart. And if you are the pupil, the whole of you is the eye. So we'll read it again. The light of the body is the eye. Therefore, if thine eye be single, thy whole body shall be full of light. I actually had to take a pause on that and allow that to just marinate, because again, it just changed everything in a good way, of course. And this is what this is about, right? Expansion. So now we have what? The pineal gland inside of our head, and now, which is an eye. And now we're realizing, oh wait, instead of dissecting all myself up, I myself, this body is an I. So you can see where it's cosmos within cosmos, being inside of being, which is also a reference within the Bible when Christ says, believe me that I am in the Father and the Father is in me. How could that be? Well, it becomes much more clear when you understand, again, that the pineal gland, that part of you is also you. Being within being. And again, this rabbit hole discovery just kept going on and on and on. It literally went from, I think it was like Wednesday or Thursday, all the way until yesterday, till Sunday. So it was over several days that, the information just kept pouring in. So it was kind of like, even though I wanted to do the conversation only on the Eye of Ra, it was kind of like, go further, because what about the other side? And that's what's next. So here we go. We had the Eye of Ra on the right side, the solar, the sun. And on the left side, we have the Eye of Horus. And the Eye of Horus is the lunar, the moon. Now, there are a lot of different variations and stories. So you can, by all means, delve into, read this story yourself. It's a really interesting one. But the overlap, the similarities, the things that I saw that were all the same, I made highlights of them, and I'll read those out to you. So what was interesting with the Eye of Horus, the left side, it is about regeneration. There's a battle that goes on in which the Eye of Horus is shattered. And it's stated, to signify the shattering of the Horus eye, the eye was divided into 6 sections. And those are representative of being linked to our human senses, because you have the 5 senses and then thought and wisdom. So this left side is all about the human, right? I even saw this one article, which is a really good read, that referenced, in their research, that the left side of Horus was the limited side, and on the Eye of Ra was limitless, unlimited. So as I begin reading more and more, it's like, wow, this is symbolic of where we were and where we are. The Egyptian myths, so to speak, aren't myths of the past at all. In fact, they're truth of the present. What we're living through right now, it's showing us how we're time travelers, how cells are becoming conscious of cells as we are exploring the cosmos, our body. And the reincarnation process that you'll read in the story, that the essence of what I got out of the left side of Horus was interesting, and just speaks to what we do as we are becoming aware of ourselves. Now, what's interesting is while we're traveling on this left side of Horus, and we're here, we're having an open mind, right? We're having fun and entertaining this what if scenario that we are an I, and this I is generating cells and dying off, never can die, right? But regenerating and climbing the body. And once you get to the top of this left side, crosses over and now is on the right hemisphere of the brain, the right. And we're going to actually explore this, because I had fun with it. The left side crossing over to the right. And once you're over here on the right side, it said that's the fall of man. The fall of man is falling into your heart. The fall of man is the rise of Christ. So once we're now on this side, we are rising yet again, but totally different energy, totally different level of awareness, same body, just expanded consciousness. And let's see, I don't want to miss any notes in here. Oh yes, some references to the right side, which is interesting. So the spiritual heart is stated to be slightly to the right of the energy heart chakra. The energy heart chakra is in your middle, your physical heart on your left, and the spiritual heart slightly to the right. And again, on your right hemisphere of your brain, the feminine side, love, right? So all that on the right side. And I actually thought it'd be helpful for those, I'm a visual person, to do some visuals, which I do have towards the end of how this all comes together, because it's helpful for me to see. It was like, whoa. So we're going to get there too. Now, this might seem like, what are you talking about? Is the earth flat? It's worth a conversation. And what's funny, I was thinking of doing a video about this a while ago, but was never led to actually go to the mic, record a video on it. So I not held off, just didn't have the inspiration to until now. And it's like, oh, here's the fuller picture. And now I understand why I didn't do that. Is the earth flat? You have people arguing about the earth being flat. You have others saying it's a circle, a globe in the shape of a sphere. And it's funny how this world, by design, got us focused in this duality. And when you're in duality, you're opting not to see the other side. It's just limitation, really. Then you don't explore the possibility that everyone's correct. Why can't it be a globe and flat, right? And so there's things around us, like the Vatican, for one, that I just saw a lot of similarities in their structures of their buildings in DC that made me feel that we're in a dome, D-O-M-E, a dome. And because I would look up at the sky, and if you ever look up, you may have pondered this too. When you're looking at the stars, where is that separation between the laws of gravity and not, no law of gravity? To me, I always felt that there was something clear, a veil of sort, that's separating those two experiences, that there's two laws, and so as we delve into the earth, this is going to be really profound. I mean, it was for me, so maybe, hopefully, this is something new for you to chew on. So going into the eye, returning into everything we were talking about in the beginning, the pupil and all of that. Did you know that the eye is called a globe? Your eye is called a globe. Research it. You can look it up. It's not hidden information. but it's definitely something that I was not aware of because I never studied the eye. And from this perspective, it's called a globe, and in particular, the oscular, hope I'm pronouncing this correctly, oscular, which is actually important. I hope I remember at the end to tell you why, but the oscular globe. And what is the shape of an eyeball? Right, round, a sphere, right? So here you have this eyeball that's in the shape of a sphere, and it's called a globe. I'm not making this up, I promise you, easy for you to type in. But what does the globe sit in? Orbit. It's literally called that. That bone structure around your eye is called orbit, an orbit. Now we have the pupil, the black opening of the eye, and the pupil has protection. So remember when I referenced the Vatican and the dome and where's that separation of the walls? Well, now fast forward to where this protection of the pupil is. That's the cornea. And guess what the cornea is? It's a clear dome that covers the eye, that covers the pupil actually, and provides protection. And there's also another layer of protection over the eye itself. So it has several layers of clear protection, and it's a dome shape that goes over it. And I'm like, wow, this is really interesting. So looking at the image, you can see what the idea of everything that I'm portraying, what it actually looks like, right? So here you have the pineal gland in / globe. It's an eye. And here are some points. So we're inside of the mind of God. And as we as a pupil rotate, because the pineal gland, this is a doctor, I didn't write the, if I do have this information, I'll notate it in the description as well. But he referenced that the pineal gland is a sideways spinning funnel. It's literally a spinning disc. That's what it appears as, a spinning disc. So we're inside the mind of God. And it's a world within a world, right? And we are spinning. So whatever is inside your mind, you can take it back to yourself to understand what this might be. If your pineal gland is inside of your mind, what you're seeing out here is a different vision, right? And then your pineal gland is operating and doing something else. So as we're inside the mind of God, the eyes of God is looking at another world. That's why it said there's nothing new under the sun, because there's nothing new under the sun. So we're traveling the body of God, and it's cell regenerating new cells. That's why I always say, and I'm learning more and more, there is nothing to be done. Everything is done. And in fact, we're being tethered inside the mind of God by believing that there's something physical that we need to do in order to continue ascending. Whatever it might be, whether it might be at our job, whether it might be any aspect of physical exertion or effort, where you are is in the mind. So if you believe that something needs to be done, that something's unfinished, you're stepping into a portal, so to speak, because you're in the mind of God. There's a limitless amount of worlds that can go in. Right? That's why we can always think of something to do. Well, if you're in the mind of God, a limited amount of thoughts, of activities, of worlds. And it really did. I know I'm always referencing with my friends the Matrix, but it made me think of this when in the Matrix it referenced everybody is your agent. Everybody can be an agent, has the potential to be an agent. And an agent is that individual. A lot of times, often it's just ourselves anyway, right? Because it's just the one. But for the sake of conversation, that pulls you into another reality that pulls you into, this needs to be done. We need to accomplish this. Those are all invitations to be pulled into instead of focusing on ascending. We're here to go beyond the mind of God. We're here to return to the source. Well, we can't return to the source if we're always believing that something isn't done. We're here to be light and travel light. So we have to travel lightly, and in order to do that, we have to untether ourselves, allow ourselves to be untethered to the mind. But anything that isn't allowing us to be untethered is tying us down, right? Again, not a bad thing. It's just being aware of what's taking place so we can lay to rest all of these things and focus on returning to the source. I think that covered everything that I had, because even though there's more, I think this is a great place to stop, because I said, well, you could go further and explore. I haven't explored this yet, but maybe you would like to on your own time. Is, I referenced the pupil of the eye and that black opening. Well, that black opening, it is sitting in the middle of what's called the iris. And that was the point I made in the very beginning, that the oscular globe, OS, sounds very similar to Osiris. You have the iris and the god Osiris. And I thought, wow, that's something else to really explore. Nothing's by happen chance. It's not random that these elements are named what they are and these gods are named what they are. So further explanation or research on your own if you like to delve into that. But this was the exciting content that I received that I'm sharing with you. I hope you enjoyed it. Looking forward to your conversation, your comments, and I'm going to see you guys on the next video. Thank you so much always for tuning in. Ciao.